Congratulations to you once again. If you have found this or in possession to watch this, then consider yourself a lucky new participant to the all-new and improved Job of Weird Mind newsroom, where in this case, your job and assignment is very simple, where you will be assigned to check out all blind spots, make sure you have enough power and energy in your picture devices, flash the halls, clear out the vents, and keep the music box wound to avoid things coming to cause you harm on the job. As you make it through the new and improved tutorial that has spent no expense in the discussion of what you'll experience in your releases, trailers, and news stories to get you in your right field of mind for the big scary world of entertainment. So that's what I have to say right now, with the job being straightforward. We'll talk again once the training is concluded for feedback, but now you are prepared to take on the realm all things media has to offer for the week of training. Now the likes of starting on the first of your first shift is the big release film of the week, and in this case we are asking the simple question of wondering, are you ready to take on Freddy once again? Because you are heading back to the night shift once more, with the familiar names and location, but just with some new looks and focus in the process, as we have the release of the sequel to the popular video game adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Now that film will be set a year after the events of the original movie, of the character experiencing the supernatural events at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, with the stories of what occurred being twisted into a campy local legend that spans the Fast Ever Fast Fest. Former security guard Mike and police officer Vanessa have kept the truth from Mike's little sister Abby about the fate of her animatronic friends, but one night when she sneaks out to reconnect with Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, it will soon set in motion a terrifying series of events that reveals dark secrets about the true origin of Freddy's and unleashing a long-forgotten horror that was hidden away for decades. Now, reception on this title, however, seems to be a lot more negative, but in a weird sense sort of way that where some has improves on the original and some calling it worse by the focus of critics, that while the story improves more on the original and the animatronic designs are still fantastic, the film is bogged down by too much at once, the lore and narrative is messy, and the dialogue is a bit too clunky, though it seems that most fans are more loving it, which seems like a good sign, as director and creatives have told it was more for the fans overall than critics. Now I did see it myself and before writing, and I will say it's not perfect but far from terrible, and it is a decent improvement, but overall I enjoyed my time with the movie in general. And if you're ready to clock in, then you can check that film also now in cinemas. For your second shift of the week, and we'll bring a question that you have suddenly discovered that you have passed on from the mortal world and have some ordeals and unanswered questions or past interests come back. What is the approach to go to, and where would be the location to find a peaceful afterlife? Well, that's what the new film from the corporation of A24 is asking this time, with their new movie that's known simply as Eternity. Now, set in the afterlife where new souls have a week to decide on where they want to expend eternity in, a young woman named Joan, played by Elizabeth Olsen, will now be faced with an impossible choice between the man she spent her life with, which is with Miles Teller, and her first love, played by Callum Turner, who died young and has waited decades for her to arrive. The reception on this film has proven itself to be a bit more of a well-received affair, with praise in the performances of the three main leads, its humor, its heart, and for having its messaging and themes in the right place. And if you want to find peace in the afterlife, then you can catch this new film also out now as well in cinemas. For your third night and final film of the week is going for more of a perspective on the realm of classic Hollywood and the elements of finding oneself in the focus behind the camera and with their loved ones and returning back to that reality, as we have the focus of an award season contender in the form of the new film of Jay Kelly. Now the film follows the titular character played by George Clooney and his devoted manager Ron, played by Adam Sandler, who embark on an unexpectedly profound journey through Europe, where along the way both men will confront the choices they've made, relationships with loved ones, and the legacies they'll leave behind. And reception on this title has also seen some very well received reception, with praise on the lead performance of Clooney and Sandler, the cinematography, the writing by Noah Baumbach, and for its profound messaging found along the way. If you want to check this one out for yourself, it is available to catch right now on the streaming service of Netflix. Now for your fourth shift, we are changing it up with a bit more of an interactive aesthetic and heading to the cosmos, as we have been told that this Bounty Hunter's news entry has been long overdue and has been in demand for a very long time. And finally, after 15 years, they are finally back in the 3D realm with the release of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. The game will see you suit up once again as Samus Aran, who has been transported to an undiscovered planet known as Vieros and tasked with a mission from the planet's inhabitants of the Lamron to help save it. She soon fights for survival across the new land while also confronting her rival Psylux, who holds a grudge against her and the Galactic Federation. Reception on this long-awaited title has seen some very strong acclaim, with praise in the visuals, level design, and functionality on both consoles, including the Switch 2 edition fidelity, though some critiques have been leveled at the open world, the NPCs, and some slight drama of elements of music for the open world being locked behind behind game completion or the purchase of an amiibo. But it seems Samus is back in action after all these years. If you're ready for a new adventure, you can play it now on Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. For your 5th night of release, it's time to focus taking on a new classic adventure and tell the tale of where the group's journey all began, as we have the release of the prequel to the popular new Octopath series of Octopath Traveler 0. Players will take the control of a custom character who will go on a journey of restoration as their home of Wishvale is destroyed by a fire, and gathering a collection of 8 members on a journey to help restore the land destroyed and bring life back to what was lost. Now, reception on this newest entry of the series has seen as positive as the others, with praise on the visuals, its gameplay, and appeal and love of the series still present throughout. If you want to check it out for yourself, it is available to play now on PS4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 1 and 2, and PC. And if you're looking for one more night of overtime, then you are in luck, as it's time for a little bit of a superhero ordeal of action, as things are back in the realm of the cosmic ordeal, as we have the release of the newest brawler title of Marvel Cosmic Invasion. With this new side-scrolling ordeal, we'll see you take on many forms of characters. You battle against hordes of enemies from many places from New York and to the negative zone to confront and stop a nihilist's cosmic invasion and save the many universes. Our reception on this new side-scrolling adventure has seen some well-received reception with praise on the character selection, the visual design, and its gameplay. And if you want to play it for yourself, with that bonus paycheck of yours now, you can play it now on PS4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 1 and 2, and Mac and PC. Now that's got you through the new release section of this training. Now we're moving over to trailers. Now, with your job and keeping an eye on the monitors, this comes with watching a selection of media content that may affect the animatronics radio interferences, and watching them as quick as possible would be beneficial to save power, and the first one may be a bit more tonally off for the current time period that we are discussing here, but in the world where they may be affected by an unknown form, the possibility of a way to resolve it may all be on the horizon, if those that may be against it doesn't try to stop that from happening. But it's time for the corruption to talk on the all-new second and final trailer for the next entry of the 28 Years franchise, with 28 years later, The Bone Temple. In the film, we'll continue the story first brought up in 28 years later, where we will see Spike being inducted into Sir Jimmy Crystal's group of acrobatic killers in a post-apocalyptic England ravaged by the Rage virus. Meanwhile, Dr. Ian Kelson uncovers a deadly discovery that will have consequences that could alter the world. Now, it's not the first time we have seen the focus of this world recently, as it's been about 6 months since the first part of this new trilogy started, and while the opinion may have altered since first watching that part, since then, it still seems like there may be a chance this could still overall appeal. However, hopefully in this case that this tone stays consistent and has a strong appeal that leads to the trilogy conclusion with the original lead from 28 days later. But I guess we will see what will come of all that when you can see it yourself when this comes out into cinemas from January 16th. Your second piece of viewing will have some connection to some of these animatronics, which is to play a fun little game with the young crowd that come across the establishment of hide and seek, and ones that are seen as a threat also have the approach of the more bloody affair aspect to this, as it comes with the follow-up to the surprise horror comedy from a few years ago, but has a name that always has a nice connective attachment to it, as we've got the first trailer for the sequel of Ready or Not, Here I Come. The follow-up once again follows Grace Macaulay, played by Samara Weaving, the sole survivor of a brutal game that results in the death of her husband and in-laws, learns that her victory comes with a price. Now, the wealthiest and most influential families on Earth have to kill her in a new game, or risk losing their power and fortune. Initially refusing to participate, she's soon left with no choice when her young sister Faith, played by Catherine Newton, is also marked for death, and she will soon have to protect her and survive this new round of the deadly game. It can be said that for when a film comes as a surprise hit, that it has some potential for more stories that it can work in its favor, or some that keep it as a one and done to avoid possible disappointment or treading the same ground. This one could end up feeling like the latter half, but I see this having some potential given there is an idea of follow-up that could work or build on some lore that explains how these deadly games and trials begin. But it has some potential and will be well worth seeing what will come about this whole ordeal when this film releases into cinemas from the 10th of April next year. Your third focus on these monitors is heading back to the time of the realm of fantasy, a concept that this franchise has yet to really delve into on theming for other locations, but more if fur would work against a world with fire-breathing creatures, but maybe they may be long past their age. But in this case, it's more about those that may become legend, possibly. As we have the second and final trailer for the newest entry of Game of Thrones, with a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, set a century before the events of the original series, this franchise will follow Sir Duncan the Tall, a hedge knight, and his young small squire that's known as Egg, as he travel across the lands of Westeros and face a series of dangerous exploits during the continued reign of the Targaryens' reign, and the fabled myths of the last dragons left in memory, and great destinies and powerful foes await for these improbable and incomparable friends. It seems that this franchise has seen some form of that, like the Phoenix, came back to life from the ashes that the original's ending left to people title and seems like it could appeal in a more lighthearted affair in this case compared to a more serious tone than House of Dragons, but let's see how this will all come about soon enough, and it seems like an interesting ordeal and affair to talk about. Well, I guess we will see in due time when the series drops on HBO and Sky next year from January 18th. The fourth viewing piece in focus is one that is in the realm of talking about a maid from someone that used to work for this establishment, and one that saw himself as sort of a king of this establishment. We don't have royalty in this instance, but as a case, we would see them as a king that brought a lot of customer service to us. But they are taking a dive into the great depths of horrors, as a man known as Markiplier has released his trailer for his adaptation of the indie horror title of Iron Lung. Now the film will be set in a post-apocalyptic future after an event known as the Quiet Rapture that caused all stars and habitable planets in the universe to disappear, and we'll see a convict that's played by Markiplier sent to explore an ocean of blood discovered on a desolate moon using a poorly constructed midget submarine nicknamed the Iron Lung. Now this project has been one that has been in long development for a fair few years, with the last time they had shown anything was about 2 years ago. It seems really interesting, providing a bit more layers to the smaller name game, but it's giving some hope that usually these titles are well worth a watch. And in this case, we are finally getting a release for this. Well, in the States, in some parts of the States, as this film will be releasing real soon on the 30th of January next year, and hopefully released over where you are. And the last of our offerings to check out the monitors before the power may run out, it's time for the end of something that might be a bit of a darker turn of events in a world that was already a bit more darker and messier than other hero affair, as it's time for the Resistance to join forces and take down the powerful adversary and restore the world from total annihilation from the unhinged icons, as we have received the first trailer for the final season to The Boys. Coming off the events of season 4 and Gen V season 2's ending, the world is now under the rule of Homelander's reign and are subjected to his erratic egomaniacal whims. Huey, Aunt Mother's Milk, and Frenchie have found themselves prisoners in a freedom camp, while Annie struggles to mount resistance against the overwhelming soup force, and Kamiko is nowhere to be found. But when Butcher reappears and ready to willing to use a virus to wipe out all soups off the map, he sets in motion a chain of events that will forever change the world and everyone in it. So it has been said the franchise is a big success, and one that many people are super excited to see how this will all come to an end. And given the case that last season saw a bit of a mixed opinion on some character aspects, as with people thinking that they were making fun of them the whole time, it will be interesting to see if this will turn around in the end. Now my own question is, given that the show is looking to be in a different outcome to the comics ending, I have to wonder, what will the conclusion to it all be, because they can't really do the ending that they did in the comics. But I guess we'll find out real soon as the series to start to the end, with the series set to drop on Prime Video from the 8th of April. And that's all your trailing section for trailers. Now we move on to the news section.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
Now, we will be starting to focus on the stories of the week is a discussion of what I see as probably the big story in particular in this entertainment business, as we have a bit of a timeline discussion of emerging possible studios, something this enterprise has experienced in the past. As it seems one of the biggest studios has been purchased from one of the world's biggest streaming services, with the studio of Warner Bros. Being purchased by the streaming giant of Netflix for an eye-watering $82.3 billion. Now, for some quick history so the company can see people that are up to speed, discussions of studio looking to buy WB has been around for about 2 years now, with initially being planned by Paramount looking to buy the studio with the old company heads. That didn't really go far at that point initially, and everything kind of died down at that point. We jump ahead to summer this year, and the talks started back up again a few months ago after Paramount purchased and merged with Skydance Entertainment, and saw the possibility that they had a better chance to obtain it now, but it seems in this case that they were still sticking to their guns of declining at first. Then there was a change in management of Paramount that seems to be buddy-buddy with the Orange Man, and the ordeal of many creatives jumping ship to other studios, and where two more names came to the mix, which was Netflix and Universal, which is seen as the latter being the lesser of two evils. But it came ahead where early Friday morning Netflix won the bid. Now with this has seen a hold huge kerfuffle online and amongst the social media scene, as there is a fear that this will see the slow death of cinema, as the head of Netflix is one that doesn't see the future of media in cinemas but rather streaming, as well as opinions that Barbie and Oppenheimer would be as acclaimed successful if they were streaming releases, which would not be the case, where there's a love for a lot of films that are more fit for the big screen. Now they have specified that WB films will still be released in the cinemas, albeit now with much shorter release windows, which will drastically affect box office numbers when the studios were trying to recover after the pandemic, but it is a mess now, this whole ordeal. Now it's not been finalized yet, as some heads of studios have called it out as being messy. The heads of some groups including Nolan and Sean Astor will try to conversate with them, and even a case Paramount is trying to counter-obtain it, but it's all a big mess. Personally, I don't see why they needed to be bought, because the whole ordeal is it may see slow death of cinemas. Some say it has also been the case that pricing for cinemas has caused that thing, but things that these places are selling or pricing are questionable. So we were talking about like cheese platters for €30 and wine for 80. I'm like, which cinemas are selling that? I have no idea. And I hope the deal doesn't really happen and things can improve instead of a slow decline death of cinema goers, but I guess we shall see. But in this case, I do want to know your thoughts on this story. Do you think that this Netflix merger deal is a good idea, or do you see this as a complete disaster and many other studios are going to see an effect of this in regards? Let me know what you think down below in the questionnaire shortly after this training video. Our second story of the week will be a focus of a concern of a studio, and instead we'll be giving a focus on the selection of projects that have gotten a date change or confirmation, and a few little selection of casting additions and a few little rumored ones as well that may be in the works to focus on this week's bulletin schedule as provided to us. So let's dive in to see what was possibly announced or may have been announced. So we're going to start off with the casting stuff first, and this is another week, another cast addition for one Miss Scarlett Johansson. As well, last week we confirmed she had been cast in a new take on The Exorcist from Mike Flanagan. A little while ago we heard rumors she was being eyed for the role of Mother Gothel in the Disney remake of Tangled. The latter one may now be officially passed on by her, as she has already found a new confirmed role in the pipeline, and in this case she will be going back to the world of superheroes, but over to the rivals of DC, as she was confirmed this week that she has been cast in the upcoming sequel to The Batman. Now currently, not much is known on what she's playing, but the report suggests that she will be playing a form of love interest for Pattinson before an inevitable turn to a villain role, but who this character is currently is unknown. Now, she has also not been the first actress initially set for this project, as the role was initially offered to Oscar winner Emma Stone, but she had turned it down and Scarlett jumped in the chance to take it. Honestly, I'm all for this, as I can see her do well in a project like this, and would be really interesting to see her in a bit of a villain role that we really have yet to fully see her in. And I say, for now, all we can do is speculate as to who she may be playing across the comics, or if this is an all-new villain for this franchise by its release in October 2027. But speaking back on Tangled, we do have a bit of some news to talk with the project, because it seems the project is starting to ramp up more and more, as development seems to be a bit more fast-tracked than other remakes of the studio, and where they are still being all made or being shuttered at some point, and quicker than the Hercules one that is now being seen as a faithful remake instead of the original idea they were going to do, which is going to be from the perspective of Hades, which just sounds like every other remake. And it seems to be the case we now have an idea as to who may be taking the leading role of this film. Now, while there has been reports that global superstar Sabrina Carpenter was set to be the frontrunner for Rapunzel, but apparently she dropped out as she was seen as too pretty, or maybe because her whole tone of music was too sexualized and wanted to avoid an ordeal like that. But recently, this week, it seems that you have it down to a selection of Final Four, which has included Stranger Things star and the whale Sadie Sink, Wednesday micromovie star Emma Myers, Scream and 1883 star Isabella May, and FNAF 2 and Ghostbuster Afterlife star McKenna Grace are all in the final four options for Rapunzel. In all fairness, I can see any of them doing well in the role, and once they can act and properly sing as well, then I'm fine with any of them. Another element would be if they choose one of these properly, that they also pick a solid choice for the role of Flynn as well, but that has yet to be properly started on yet, and they are going to get into that once they get an idea of who Rapunzel is going to be played by. But it's anyone's guess as to who will come from these choices. Now, at the moment, this is just speculation. Nothing has been finalized as of yet, but of course, if there's any new updates in this project, I should provide that in a later episode, of course. Now, speaking of another story from last week, we're moving on to the release date changes and fixes for this next one, and most of these date announcements are mainly coming to us from Paramount. And we start with a big moneymaker series for them, getting some changes and announcements, as we first reported on Tuesday that the fourth Sonic the Hedgehog film has been delayed from its late March 2027 release and will now be set for release on December 20th of that year instead, giving the film an extra 9 months to develop, which I can understand with all the shakeups of the studio, as well as the films having more and more visual effects being added with every film of new characters and stuff, that it's expected to get a bit of more time to make it all look really great. Now, this would be where it ended, but also came with a confirmation that the following year, on December 22nd, 2028, that a new film based in the universe of projects that will be on the way as well, and has been confirmed it's not a Sonic-focused film, or essentially Sonic the Hedgehog 5. Now, there is a debate as to what this could be, from the confirmed film based on Tales that was announced back when around Sonic 2's release with the Knuckles series, or a possible Knuckles film following that show's first season, or it could be that reported shell project that has been considered but is unknown as to what it could be, and maybe could even be established from the next mainline film. But at the moment, we have no idea what it could be focused on, but I guess we will see by the next entry's release in Christmas in 2 years' time. Then from Blue Blur's Two Turtles with Attitude, we have some news in relation to the projects of TMNT. Now, the last story we talked on with these characters was a few weeks ago, when it was reported the studio had put the last Ronin film on hold and that they would be planning a new family-friendly take on the Turtles for the moment of release first, as well as the animated Mutant Mayhem sequel still set for October 2027. Well, besides the news that the third anime film is currently being discussed, the new light-hearted live-action take of the Turtles has already confirmed a new release date, with the film set for release now on November 17th, 2028, just 1 week before Thanksgiving in the States. Now, this will be the first time in a decade since the Turtles were last in the live-action format, with the 2016 film Out of the Shadows that got decent reception but underperformed at the box office. Now, I'll question if this one will have any chance of a big box of appeal, as yes, the franchise is bankable in most cases. It does have a big competition for the film market, as a week after its release, its competition is the fourth film in the Frozen franchise from Disney, and it will be a case if that will still have an appeal by that point. Now, it's unclear if the likes of this will be a major success or not, but I guess we'll see in due time, but its planned date in November 2028. And then for the final release focus, we have one more delay in the mix, as while it was announced to be in the works for a release a couple of weeks ago, it was announced on Friday that the sequel to the Simpsons movie has been delayed as well, but is now moving from its July 23rd release to a now September 3rd, 2027 release, instead of dropping on Labor Day weekend. This, I can understand the approach for two reasons. One, the important aspect that of course animation takes time to develop, and second is probably wanting a better release window and not wanting to go up against the sequel to the Minecraft movie that was confirmed for that same day as well. I see this as working in its favor to some form and having some appeal in the more public US holiday of all this, and I'm intrigued to see if this will stick to its new date and what the plot of this new follow-up will entail, but I guess we'll see by Labor Day weekend in 2 years time. But now with all that regards, I want to know your thoughts on all that was discussed this week. Do you see ScarJo portraying in the Batman sequel? Who would you pick to portray Rapunzel, as well as you see a more faithful take on Disney Hercules being worth it? Are you excited for a fourth Sonic film, and what cards do you see the mystery film in this franchise focusing on? Will you watch a new live-action TMNT and a firm new Mayhem project? And will the delay of the Sims movie be a good move or a messy outcome? Let me know what you think about it all down below. On the final story of this week's Bold and Schedule, this is more in the realm of some speculation, as there's a bit of focus on projects that may have been announced or to be confirmed in development, or ones that may be in the possible future in the works of some rumored reported insiders and things about the rumor mill of some local ideals. But I guess we'll see possible slander of the company, but I guess we'll find out as we delve into these stories. Now, of course, we start with our only reported rumored project in focus this week, and it's a case of a return to a franchise that has been quiet for a little over half a decade at this point, but was once a popular franchise of late 90s and early 2010s that saw well-dressed suits, advanced tech, and some intergalactic threats. And that is, of course, with the franchise of Men in Black. That was a power duo of Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones for a trilogy. Now, they wrapped up in 2012, but there was a follow-up in 2019 with International, but that starred Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, and was not as appealing to most at that point, and since then, the franchise has been a bit dormant. But that may soon change. According to some rumored sources, there may be a new entry in the series in the works and will be penned by Chris Bremner, the writer of the two recent Bad Boys films and The Man from Toronto, a possibility that Will Smith may return in the role of Agent J. Now, it's unclear as to what this would foretell in this film, if it will have some all-new powerful threat or be a passing of the torch kind of thing, and if it will have any connection to the last film, or even if they could get Tommy Lee Jones back as Agent K, but it's really hard to say at this point in time. Now, as I mentioned, of course, this is all just some early speculation, and nothing has been confirmed as of yet to be made, but once I hear anything being confirmed, I'll provide that in a later episode. These next two are not necessarily project announcements, but more of a projects that are currently in the works and has to do with confirmed auditions to the creation of the film, and connects in the focus of Aliens. As we talk on the confirmed addition to the upcoming video game adaptation, with it being a case of a new leader taking control to fight for democracy. As announced this week that the planned film adaptation of Helldivers has found a director, and as in the form of Justin Lin, who you may know as the director of about half of the Fast and Furious films. I could see in the case that this will work in a lot of big action set pieces and be well versed in going over the top, which seems like the ideal project for this director. I feel some influence of this big series will come into play with some form of the concept of family being slipped in there somewhere, and I will say I will give him a chance for this time being. Now, currently, there is no set release date for this adaptation or who will be suiting up in the armor, but if any updates on this come about, you know I'll be bringing them up in a later episode past this training tape. Then from directing duties to one project and producing duties for another, we have been given word of a new producing duo that has unexpected, but in case will be one I will see as being a possible, hopefully success match. I was confirmed this week that Spider-Man and Evil Dead director Sam Raimi will be teaming up with Get Out and Nope director Jordan Peele on a new adaptation based on a short story known as Portrait of God, which tells of an academic and religious student creating the focus on artistic presentation for his peers and ponder the question of what does God really look like, and soon come face to face with the figure in truly unholy and chilling ways. It seems like something these two producers would help to bring something unique to their own unique perspectives of projects from the more visceral and unsettling horror of Raimi's work on Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell, and Peele's more modern horror with his deep social commentary across his three films so far. And didn't get much of a presence to provide that perspective to all, but it's hard to say on from this front currently. Now, in this case as well, there's no set plan for when this project will enter production, and if it will live up to the appealing experience of the original short from YouTube will provide. But if any updates will come about this in due time, I will provide them, of course, in a later episode. And for now, new announcements of projects, and soon in this case, it will be time to suit, combine, in this case, morphin time, as it's been reported this week that an all-new take on the popular franchise of Power Rangers is in the works at Disney Plus, and will be done and developed by the showrunners behind the Percy Jackson series, which I can see the sense of the scope going well of creative designs of this franchise having some nice or interesting appeal. Now, this ordeal of the series could be one of great debate, as the franchise has been a little all over the place, and according to my good friend who is a big fan of this franchise, the brand or company has been a little mixed in the whole outcome, from franchise bio and the original vision feeling lost. But hopefully the showrunners are more fans of the franchise and want to harken back to the appeal and love the series had all those years ago, or even the appeal the 2017 film had. I know there was a bit of fan base with that one as well, but I guess we will see in due time. Now, like most of the projects, we have no idea when we will see this, but who will be suiting up for this project, but I guess if anything new comes up, I'll provide that in a later episode. Then from powerful heroes to spooky powerful entities, it will be soon a return to a franchise that may be well known for most of the time being for one thing: watching people sleep and spooky things in the night, as it's been reported that a new film in the Paranormal Activity franchise is being developed and will be produced by Blumhouse like the previous entries. But this is not, however, the only name attached to this, as for the first time, horror author James Wan will also be part of the production as a producer for this film as well, given the sense of scope and scares the franchise of The Conjuring and the early Saw films provided in many forms, and will be intriguing to see what approach he will do with this long-running series. Now, the main question in this regards is what approach will this movie go in? Will it be a continuation of the same timeline from the first 6 movies, a follow-up to Next of Kin, or from about 3 or 4 years ago, or whilst this could be a full-on reboot of the series and start off fresh once more with a new timeline and characters? But it's really all up in the air right now. Similar to other projects, we have no idea how far along this project is and when we expect it, but once I hear anything about it, I'll provide that in a later episode as well. And as for last of the announcements, we have something of a new project that will bring a return to a selection of colourful characters who have not had much of a presence in quite a while, but seem to be making a return in a big way possible. As was announced that Studio Canal, the company behind the Paddington movies, is taking another beloved children's book series and characters and giving them the big screen treatment, and as with a series of Mr. Men and Little Miss stories. This is of course a popular massive book series for young children that provide a lot of colourful and unique characters, from Mr. Happy, Little Miss Sunshine, Mr. Bump, Little Miss Chatterbox, Mr. Tickle, Little Miss Fabulous, and many more in this massive series. Now, in general, with these books, there is not a lot of visuals behind the focus of the characters, but I'm sure they may give a bit of a branching world of colour to the land they may be shared together with this, all but one to wonder what kind of story this film take on their series will be, as well as it usually comes down to the traits that these characters have that benefits and affects other characters in the stories, but I guess it will be something they may have in mind to make these characters in a big film story. Now, of course, at this moment, there's no set release for this project or who will be helming the project as well, but I'm sure once they do hear anything about this, I can provide that in a later episode as well. But now with all that, I'd like to know your own thoughts on all these. Would you be interested in a new Men in Black film, an original Drew returning, or should it be left as is? Do you think Justin Lin is the right choice for Helldivers film? Do you see the producing duo make something solid from this short film? Will the new take on Power Rangers bring some sense of appeal back to the franchise? What approach will they take with the new Paranormal Activity? And would you be interested in a Mr. Man, Little Miss film? And what will this film's story entail? Let me know what you think in the opinion section down below. Now that's all of our news section. Let's get wrapping up on this training montage. And that about wraps up your training video, and congratulations for making it through your training. You are now prepped and prepared to take on the role and the leading face for this franchise business, and getting through another episode of Weird Mind Newsroom. Now, if you have any thoughts and opinions about this, you present it in the video below, but before we wrap this up, I've got some information from the company that they want me to read about to you, like what you can expect as well, other things may be coming up, yeah, I just gotta talk about them here. So the case they talk about reviews of stuff, they want to see more reviews on different things, like the case of like you're going to see stuff about like other franchises, like about, you know, the apocalypse of like this like father-daughter dynamic thing on the apocalypse. I think it was called like The Last of Us or something. But yeah, they're But yeah, they seem to be coming. Other case as well, they talk about some snack-sized box office films. Apparently, it's some cases like he's done shorter reviews for different films and shows, kind of thing. I'm just getting off what the company's telling me here. As well as case, other reviews are coming up for other projects, like ones about like Broadway show turned into a movie, or like one of the stories we talked about earlier and stuff. That there's all different ones coming out, as well as case other films like we talked about. You know, the franchise movie we talked about here. But yeah, they'll be coming along supposedly. So I'd say look out forward to them. Then the case as well, they want to talk about gameplays. So there's a case about something about, you know, the classic characters like Donkey Kong and Mario, and like newer stuff like Star Wars and Cyberpunk. They're all gonna be returning in some capacity with like new gameplays and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes with them. So I'd say look forward to those. They'll probably be coming along soon enough. And as well as case to check an eye on the maybe Ventilation, but I think there's also a game called Ventilate, so I'd say be looking forward to that. That's probably going to be starting soon, so yeah, just keep an eye on that in that regards. And a case then of long form content as well. There's something about a rewatchathon that's coming, audience choice video about AI, you know, maybe talking about the tech of these animatronics, I don't know, but probably more dangers that's going on in the world right now. Something about time lapses, so probably a case like, you know, help the time go by while you're working here, like the late shifts and stuff, as well as case of other stuff like nominations for Game Awards that I think that's apparently out this week, so look forward to that. But I think that's all the company has told me here. So yes, thank you for your time and effort for listening to this training video, and you're now more well versed in this company now, and you'll be heading for the leading face for this franchise business. If you have any thoughts or opinions of what is presented in this video, please submit your points in the survey and the links discussion down below in the comments section. We will try and return back to that when we can possibly do so. As well as the case that we're also the company's actually asked me here to help like and subscribe for these videos. I'm guessing they're uploaded onto the internet somewhere. They're trying to aim for 500 subs by the end of this year, and I think we're up to near the end of the year. We're about 16 or 17 subs away from 500, which they're trying to aim for. So any support in that regards, I think we should be beneficial. But anyways, I think we should leave it there. So thank you for your time. You all stay being wonderful people. Have a great day every day, doing many great things. Of course, you know, take care and welcome to the company. Of course, we hope to see you again soon, and always remember to smile as you're doing really great things. Now, of course, I've been your trusty guide here, Sam, and I shall see you all in the next one. So thank you, and I'll see you later.